What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Kara Corey here, registered dietitian and WNBF Bikini Pro. You guys had a great response to the last bikini or competitor Q&A, I should say, that I posted last week. So I had a ton more questions that went unanswered. I wanted to do a second part to this and answer more of your questions. Before we get right into it, be sure you guys are subscribed. If you'd like, hit the post notification bell. I'm usually here a couple days a week to hang out with you guys, providing different content, fitness, competitor stuff, nutrition. We've got clothing hauls. So if you enjoy that, go ahead and make sure you're subscribed and thumbs up this video if you'd like to see future content like this. First question or comment just kind of says, doing your own tan. All right, I have always advised people to not do their own tan, or not necessarily not do your own tan, but what happens is the show typically has a spray tan that they're working with. They're usually working with some other spray tan company. And when you don't use their spray tan, depending on how yours looks, you can really stand out on stage. And I know some people are like, well, isn't that a good thing? I want to stand out on stage. Well, not always, kids. After judging a few shows, I can tell you that when I've got competitors in front of me and their tan is a totally different color, and there's one type of tan I've seen people use on themselves and do themselves that like turns green, it really takes away from that person's physique. And it makes it hard to compare you equally against everyone else. If I'm looking at 8 competitors and one of them looks like gold or green, but the other 7 have the same kind of bronzed look, as a judge, I feel like I can better evaluate those 7 compared to each other, and that's where my eyes go. That's just me personally. Maybe not every judge or competitor would have that same input, but what I would advise you to do is if you are going to do your own tan, make sure you're experienced in it. Make sure that it's a tan that looks to be the same color of what's going to be on stage with you. That's not the place you want to stand out, and it's really important that you have that nice, even tan. So if you are going to do it yourself, don't try to do it the first time on show day. Make sure you're very experienced with it. If you are going to do your own tan, stick with something that's a known product that's good, like I think it's Pro-Tan or Jantana, like stuff like that we know has a good color on stage under the lights. Your basic Zoom tan will not cut it. Can someone compete with loose skin from weight loss? Absolutely. You absolutely can. I guess it depends though on how much of it you have and how well it's kind of covered up. I have seen people compete with really loose skin, and yeah, you're not, I'm gonna be honest, you're not gonna place as well as someone who doesn't have that loose skin. That's just the reality of the game, of a subjective sport where you're being evaluated strictly on your physique and how lean you are, you know, your muscle mass, symmetry, stage confidence, the whole look. It will take away a little bit, but you know, it really depends on the person, how much you have, and what you feel comfortable with. You know, sometimes it's not about getting on stage and winning first place. So what is your journey to the stage? Is your journey to the stage to get out there and present your best shape and be cool with your placing? Then go for it. Don't let what I'm saying right now stand in your way. I do know some divisions now too also have like weight loss transformation divisions, so which I think is really cool, and I don't get why more organizations don't do that, because I think that would be more appealing for folks that like have lost a crap ton of weight, but maybe they don't have like that leanness to be bikini or physique or figure or bodybuilding, but they want to go show off their hard work because they're friggin' proud. So those weight loss transformation divisions I think are really cool too. Do you believe in bumping up calories before a mini cut? I hate it. It seems counterintuitive. Yeah, I actually do believe in bumping up calories before a mini cut, and here's why. I think you always want to enter a cut in the best place possible. And what I mean by that is you don't want to enter a cut if the previous couple weeks you've been restricting, or maybe you've been going up and down. You really want to get calories as high as possible so that you can really know what your metabolism is like, what you can handle. And usually when I work with folks who want to cut or lose weight, and they tell me how many calories they're consuming, and it freaks a lot of people out. But I usually increase people when I first start with them, because a lot of people are kind of up and down and inconsistent. So instead of having that up and down, I up your calories and I say, please eat this every single day of the week. Let's see how your body handles it. Let's see how you respond. Sometimes people maintain and they're like, wow, how did that happen? Sometimes people lose weight. Usually no one gains weight. So you want to get yourself to the point where you know that maintenance level. So that's where I like to increase calories first before you go into a cut, to have a better understanding of where your body can maintain. Have you ever messed up on prep? Oh girl, yes. Like, I think I messed up like every prep until like my last 2 years of competing. I mean, I messed up so bad my first prep. Number one, I was just confused. It was so new. I started competing in 2012, you guys. The information was not out there yet. And it was so restrictive, and I just had never put myself in that position before to be on a diet necessarily and be that restrictive. And I remember I ate like a half a jar of peanut butter a week before my show. I kid you not. I did, and I still went out there in a bikini, and I still looked shredded, and mentally that was a little bit screwy. But yeah, I've messed up. I know I had times where like refeed days in particular would be hard for me, because it was like, oh cool, I get more carbs today, and it almost like spiked my appetite that much more. And usually those would be the days I would end up eating more than I should, and I would just be honest with my coach and say, I want you to know this is what happened, this is what I ate, what do you think, where do you want to go from here? And oftentimes it was just, let's just move on from it. Thank you for telling me. Let's move on. We're not going to try to recoup anything. We're not going to do extra cardio. Let's just move on. And I'm here to tell you, most competitors mess up. I'm not alone. You're not alone. Just because you mess up during prep doesn't mean you have to quit. Doesn't mean you're not going to do well. I've messed up and won first place. It happens to all of us. And honestly, sometimes that mess up is what made me work harder, because it just kind of put things in perspective. Like, do I want this or not? Like, where am I going to go from here? And usually that's when I put the pedal to the metal, and I really would kind of, give it all I had those last remaining weeks of my prep. But one mistake, even a couple mistakes, it doesn't have to mean you have to quit your prep. But if you find you're struggling on a daily basis, then prep is probably not for you. It is really, really challenging in terms of everything that you have to give up and have to go through. So if you're finding it's a daily struggle, then I would advise you to probably not be prepping at this moment in time. How close to competition do you need to start cutting your cheat meals out? That's a really individualized question based on the coach you're working with. I often didn't have cheat days when I was in competition prep for the most part. We would have a structured refeed, or there were times that I was told to go out and enjoy like X, Y, and Z to get a little more carbs in me. But for the most part, cheat meals weren't something that was part of prep. Not saying you have to prep that way. So if you are someone that incorporates cheat days, it's going to depend on you and how you're responding and how your body looks. But to actually answer your question, I guess I would say those last 4 weeks of prep, if you are someone having cheats, I would say at least omit those last 4 weeks, and maybe you switch over to a structured refeed if you're someone that responds well to a refeed, to definitely help assist with keeping hormone levels healthier, and just mentally refeeds help so much, I think, during prep. So I would advise you to do that as well. But I know for myself, I don't really incorporate cheat days for my bikini clients that I work with. Usually we're just kind of keeping track of everything, because cheat days provide so many variables. And for those of you that follow me, I don't even like using the term cheat meals, because it does kind of provoke that negative connotation with food. And then what happens is after competition, it ends up being a 24/7 cheat meal, cheat day, cheat week, cheat month. And then you're like, how did I get here? I've gained 20 pounds. So I think it's important that relationship you're having with food during your prep, and how you're even using that terminology. How do you get over the mental struggles associated body dysmorphia that can occur? That's a challenging question. It depends, on the person. And to before I answer how to get over it, I have to go back to before you enter a prep. And I know I say this a lot, you guys, but I've learned a lot throughout my years of competing. Before you enter a prep, you have to assess your relationship with your body, with your self-confidence, with your relationship with food. Those are all three things that you need to look at and be honest with yourself, because I'm here to tell you, prepping in a competition is not going to give you the body confidence and all the happiness in the world you've been looking for, because you are going in to compete and to have that body for that one day only. I don't care what anyone else tells you. You are not meant to walk around stage day body. It's for one day only. And that's a lot to handle. It's hard to work for 12 weeks, 16 weeks. Some people work 6 months before they compete to get to that physique that you're truly only supposed to have for one day to display. It's not meant to maintain. So you really need to think about that process that you're gonna go through and throughout that journey. And I remember for myself during my pro shows, I was really conscious of that. I didn't want to have issues post-competition with self-confidence. And I've always struggled with it. I'll be honest, I never had a perfect post-show where I was like, yeah, I've gained weight and I look great and I'm totally 100% fine with it. I think there's always going to be a level of feeling self-conscious about the weight gain component when you have to start gaining that weight back. But what I will say is when I went through prep, I kind of thought about at what stage I felt like things were fairly, not necessarily easy, but where I felt like things weren't too difficult. I liked how my body looked. I liked how I felt. I'm going to take note of that because after the show is over, I know that I felt good gaining weight, being at that particular weight or that particular spot with those particular macros, if that makes sense. So you just have to be very mindful of the fact that that body is not meant to maintain. The other thing I'll say too is if you're really struggling with it, if you're someone in the depths of prep or if you're struggling with it post-prep, take a look at who you're following on social media as well. I previously used to only follow competitors. So as I scrolled, that's all I saw was the leanest of the lean, the IFBB pros maintaining that leanness all year round. And when you see that, that's no different than when you see, celebrities on TV and everyone looking perfect in magazines. It's hard to not have that take a toll on you. So I shifted who I followed on social media. I did stop following a lot of people who were just only about that competition life. I started following people who are more there to promote mental health and just, self-improvement. And I ended up following more dietitians and just people that I felt like when I looked at their page and their feed, they really built me up and reminded me that you're more than a body. There's so much more to you. So that's just kind of another little tip is to take note of who you're surrounding yourself with. And, if you're getting into that comparison game or people are making you feel some kind of way, then separate yourself. I want to compete, but I don't know where to start. Currently 22% body fat. This is a common question I get, and I have to tell you, body fat, it doesn't matter. Like, honestly, to me, it doesn't matter because you being 22% body fat can look so much different body to body. There isn't a certain body fat that you have to be to compete at. You may hear certain people say what they get down to or what level of body fat percentage. But again, everyone is different and body fat percentages look different on each and every person. So I wouldn't worry so much about where you're at in terms of body fat. I would look at more, what have you been doing to prepare you to start a competition? Are you someone that's been training? Do you know how to train? How's your diet? Do you know what it's like to go through a cutting phase and things of that nature? So those are some questions I'd ask yourself. Definitely, if you're not sure where to start, we've got all kinds of information here on the YouTubes, myself included. I also have an ebook, 12 Weeks to Bikini Pro. That's for someone that can't afford a coach. So that's an available resource for you guys to utilize on karacorey.com. You can check that out. It really goes from A to Z on everything you need to know to coach yourself through a show and post-show. And again, you may want to reach out to a coach if you're able to afford that. That's another option, to work with someone who can guide you appropriately through the process. For the ebook too, I want to mention it's not just an ebook. There's a lot of information there. It's going to give you workout programs. It's going to give you everything you need to know how to adjust your macros. I did a bunch of videos that are not posted on YouTube that are specific for those of you entering this program. Posing tips, things like that, all kinds of stuff there. So if you guys do go ahead and purchase that, I am offering $100 back. All you have to do is shoot me an email at KaraCoreyFitLife and I will refund you if I see that you did purchase it. Is there really a healthy way to compete? It seems so extreme. If you've watched my last, my Driven series, my Road to Pro, I tried as best I could to have as healthy of a prep as possible. And when I say healthy, I mean I tried to make sure the foods I was eating were still balanced, that I was not just wasting my macros on junk. I was trying to make sure that with the calories I was consuming, I was getting in nutritious foods. I was also making sure it was healthy in the aspect that I wasn't just you have to be laser focused on prep, don't get me wrong, but you have to be able to function in other areas of your life too. So I try to make sure I wasn't totally losing sight of that. Even though I was competitive, I wanted to do well, I was trying to make it more of a lifestyle as much as possible. It is extreme though. It's going to be extreme unless you're just someone who is genetically really gifted, you're naturally a leaner person, you naturally have muscle mass. I would say that's not the majority of us, though. I would say that's a very small minority of folks that compete that don't have to work as hard. We all have to work really, really hard, and it's going to get extreme. I just think people are lying when they say it doesn't get extreme. I'm going to be honest. I remember seeing people that would post that they were eating 2,200 calories and doing cardio 2 times a week, and look how shredded I am. And I'm like, girl, I think you're doing something else though that you're not telling us. And that's just my opinion. So be careful what you're hearing out there. It's going to get extreme. If people are saying it's not extreme and they're eating all the foods and barely working out, they're probably getting a little assistance from somewhere else. And a couple people asked me this question, so we'll end here. How are hormones affected during prep? And this can be a tough one to answer too. These are all tough questions. Here's what I'm going to say to you guys before entering a prep, something I wish I would have done. Before entering a prep, go to the doctor and get your hormone levels tested. If you have a doctor that's willing to just even do basic blood work on you, get a general sense of what your current health is like before you enter a prep. I just think it's good information to know, because if stuff is already off prior to entering a prep and then you load yourself up with tons of caffeine or stimulant-based fat burners, over exercising and getting to super lean, low body fat conditions, especially as a woman, as a man too, it's going to impact your sex hormones. It's going to impact your stress hormones. There could be a lot of things that can occur depending on how extreme you go as well, you see? So it depends. If you're someone that just goes into an 8-week prep, has a lot of weight to lose, so you go majorly extreme, you just eat fish, you eat tilapia and asparagus to get your skin real thin for show day, odds are you're going to put yourself in worse shape than someone that took things nice and slow, maybe was a little bit closer to stage weight, maybe did a couple diet breaks, had refeeds in there. There's a lot of different things that can impact it. So my advice to you as a healthcare professional is, before entering prep, let's see what your health looks like. Should you even be entering a prep? Because yes, you are putting your hormones at risk. Now, I also just want to tangent and say, I think a bunch of people, at times maybe didn't do well with their reverse and claimed it was their hormones. Maybe that's shitty of me to say. I had times where I didn't do well with my reverse and I gained weight, and I don't think that was related to hormones. I think that was related to me eating like an asshole and not taking care of my body. But part of that is because your hormones are out of whack, and your appetite hormones, things like ghrelin, leptin, I'm sure they're impacted. I never had mine personally tested to say X plus Y equaled Z, but you feel like a friggin' mess post-show, especially if things got real extreme. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, you guys, but how you treat your body post-show is a big part of it too. So you are going to be more sensitive to weight gain post-show. So if you're someone that struggles with the reverse, and hi, I was one of them, I'll openly admit that. It is tough. It's going to complicate things even more. And the other thing too, with your hormone levels and thyroid too, I've seen a lot of competitors going on thyroid medications because of their thyroid not working anymore. Now, was it related to things they were taking during competition? Again, I can't say for sure, but I would think there is an impact there with your thyroid, and which does regulate your metabolism, with how much caffeine we're consuming. You know, I took caffeine levels to an inappropriate place. I'm here to tell you that during prep, because you just want to suppress your appetite so you're not hangry and angry, and you can just live a better quality of life during a prep. So yeah, there's a lot to do with hormones during prep. It's something you should consider before entering a prep, and how that's going to impact you, and you should really take caution with entering a prep if your health isn't in a good spot to begin with. All right, guys, I think I'm going to close out this bikini Q&A. If you did enjoy it, please hit the thumbs up button. And I'd also like to know, what other kind of prep competition videos would you like to see from myself? No, I'm not competing, but I have a lot of experience. I'm willing to help you out. Do you want me to pop on a sparkly bikini and show you some posing basics? I've got a bikini posing do and don't video that did very well on the YouTube. So if you want to see things like that, I don't really know how much of my following is still competitor based. So I would love that feedback from you guys for what you would like to see on the channel in regards to competing. So I hope you enjoyed this Q&A. Even if you aren't a competitor, you guys always tell me that you like my voice. And I appreciate that, because I'll be honest, my voice was something I was always self-conscious about, especially when I first started YouTube and had to listen to myself back. I was like, that's what I sound like? But you guys always tell me, like, something about my voice, just, you enjoy it. Like, some of you dudes out there are still, like, you're tried and true, like, sticking by me, like, listening to these bikini videos. So I appreciate it if you guys did make it through this entire video. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.